Success isn't something that happens by chance. It's built one decision at a time, starting with you. In the next few minutes, you'll discover powerful, actionable strategies to unlock your full potential, strengthen your mindset, and create lasting habits that drive real transformation. From mastering self-discipline to cultivating resilience, this audiobook guide will give you the tools to become your best self every single day. By the end of this video, you'll learn how to identify your authentic values, set achievable goals, overcome setbacks, and build routines that elevate every area of your life. This isn't just motivation. You'll get practical steps you can implement immediately for measurable growth. If you're ready to take control of your journey and transform your potential into results, hit subscribe and join Audiobook Tone for more life-changing content like this, delivered in a way that makes growth simple, actionable, and inspiring. Number 1. Identify your authentic personal values. Number 1. Identifying authentic personal values begins with a quiet refusal to be led by noise. Values are not trends, titles, or checkboxes on someone else's success list. They are the steady pulse beneath decisions, the subtle tug that makes some choices feel right and others hollow. When actions line up with values, life feels purposeful. When they diverge, even small wins taste like sand. This chapter shows how to find that pulse, name it, test it, and arrange daily life around it, so resilience and clarity become habit rather than aspiration. First, understand what values are in practice. A value is a rule of life condensed into a single word or short phrase. Honesty, courage, curiosity, mastery, generosity. Values are not vague virtues to admire from afar. They are practical tools that shape what gets attention, what gets time, and what gets no attention at all. If a meeting, a relationship, or a purchase does not pass the values check, it is allowed to be declined. That clarity reduces waste of energy, of time, and of dignity. Begin with a values harvest. Set aside 30 minutes in a quiet place. Carry a pen that writes smoothly and a fresh page. Close your eyes for 20 seconds and notice how your body feels when thinking of moments of real satisfaction in the past year. Where were you? Who was present? What exactly was happening? Now write down single-word answers to the prompt. When I felt most alive, these words were present. Don't overthink. If learning, integrity, or freedom come up, write them down. Aim for 20-30 words. This is raw material, not a finished product. Next, narrow to the essentials. From that list, choose the 10 words that feel most essential, those that, if honored, would make life meaningful even if material conditions changed. Take each word and put a one-line definition beside it that feels real. For example, if courage is on the list, define it as saying what needs saying despite discomfort. If presence is on the list, define it as full attention to the person or task in front of me. Definitions keep values from becoming platitudes. They force specifics that can be tested. Now comes the hardest and most revealing step. Rank the 10 from most to least essential. Ranking is uncomfortable because it creates inevitable trade-offs. Yet life is a series of trade-offs. This ranking is not a moral judgment. It is a practical map. Put the top 3 in a separate column. These are the core values. The top 3 should be non-negotiable anchors. If a decision in life forces compromise on any of these consistently, it is an alarm bell that something needs to change. Apply a simple test to see whether the values hold real weight. Construct 3 short scenarios that cover different parts of life: work, relationships, and personal time. For each scenario, ask, if this happened, which of my core values would guide my choice? Example, offered a high-paying job that requires habitual dishonesty. Does integrity outrank security? If the answer causes internal friction, it reveals the actual hierarchy in practice. This exercise connects abstract words to real choices. Make the values visible and portable. Write the top 3 values on a small card and keep it in a wallet or set them as a phone lock screen. Put the top 5 values at the top of a daily planner. The aim is not to preach to oneself, but to create frictionless recall. Values must be accessible at decision time. When tempted by a distraction or pressured into a quick yes, a brief glance at the card supplies steady anchoring. Create a weekly values check ritual. At the end of each week, spend 10 minutes with 3 questions. Where did actions align with my values? Where did they diverge? What small adjustment next week would increase alignment? Record one measurable action that honors each core value. If presence is a value, measurable action might be 30 minutes of uninterrupted conversation with my partner, no devices. If mastery is a value, it might be complete one focused practice session of 60 minutes on a key skill. Concrete measures turn vague intentions into behavior. Learn to say no with a short script tied to values. Saying no is an act of self-respect and alignment. Prepare 2 or 3 phrases that express decline without drama, and reference values implicitly. I can't commit to that while honoring my focus on deep work this month, or that won't align with the value I'm prioritizing right now. Practice saying these lines in the mirror until they feel natural. Boundaries are not island building. They are cultivation. Test values under pressure. Values revealed in comfort are aspirational. Values revealed in crisis are authentic. The next time stress arrives, an unexpected demand at work, a family conflict, a sudden expense, observe what the first instinct is. Does the instinct follow a value or a fear? If fear dictates, take a moment to breathe and consult the card. Use a short stoic technique. Label the emotion, name the value you want to serve, and choose an action consistent with that value. This small ritual trains the prefrontal cortex to favor deliberate alignment over automatic reactivity. Use role model reverse engineering to strengthen clarity. Think of 3 people whose lives embody qualities you admire: public figures, mentors, or someone close. Identify 3 behaviors per person that feel aligned with your desired value. If a mentor demonstrates discipline through early rising and scheduled practice, note that behavior. If a public figure demonstrates compassion through consistent volunteering, notice the concrete act. This exercise prevents values from becoming mere celebrity slogans and grounds them in observable habits. Values must move into the structures of life. Examine 5 main domains: work, close relationships, health, finances, and leisure. For each domain, ask, how would this domain operate if it fully honored my top 3 values? Write one change in each domain that is both small and implementable within the next 2 weeks. For work, this might be block 2 hours of focused work daily, if mastery or focus is a core value. For relationships, it might be weekly undistracted dinners if presence ranks high. The point is incremental structural change, not theatrical overhaul. Record and review decisions through a values lens. When a significant decision is made, accepting a job, ending a relationship, moving city, write a short decision note. What options were considered? Which value was decisive? And what signs will show this was the right choice? Revisit that note in 3 months. This creates an accountability loop. Choices justified by values are either affirmed by outcomes or corrected without shame. Over time, this trains judgment. Practice gratitude anchored to values. Gratitude that focuses only on external gains, money, fame, is brittle. Instead, cultivate a gratitude habit tied to values. Each evening, list one small action that day which honored a core value and note the feeling it produced. This trains attention toward internal currency, how aligned actions feel, rather than external currency. The felt sense becomes a reward system more reliable than applause. Prepare for drift. Values are not set and forget. Life pressures, subtle compromises, and well-meaning adaptations can shift priorities. Schedule quarterly values audits, short, honest reviews of whether the top 3 still feel non-negotiable. If a value no longer fits, give clear reasons rather than vague guilt. Values evolve. What matters is to evolve with intention rather than by default. Finally, practice compassion through firmness. Building a values-aligned life requires discipline, but discipline without dignity breeds resentment. When mistakes happen, missing a promised call, slipping into an old habit, acknowledge the error, identify which value was compromised, and outline a corrective action. Avoid moralizing the lapse. Stoic practice is not punitive, it is corrective instead. Respond to errors as materials for calibration, not as proof of unworthiness. Identifying authentic personal values is less about finding the right words and more about learning to live from them. The process shapes perception. It changes the questions asked in the morning, the selection of relationships, the kinds of work pursued, and the tiny rituals that mark a day well lived. The rewards are simple: less internal noise, clearer choices, and a quieter confidence that actions are connected to a purpose that endures beyond praise or circumstance. Begin with a harvest. Define deliberately. Rank honestly. Make values visible. Measure alignment weekly. Say no with calm confidence. Test in pressure. Reverse engineer role models. Restructure life domains. Record decision notes. Practice gratitude that values the inner currency. Accept drift and correct it kindly. This sequence builds not just a list, but a living architecture for a life where success is not merely achieved, but chosen daily. Number 2. Set ambitious but achievable goals. Number 2. Setting ambitious but achievable goals begins with clarity, not motivation. Motivation fluctuates like the wind. Clarity holds steady like the lighthouse guiding ships through a storm. Goals are more than statements of desire. They are commitments to action and accountability, carefully calibrated to push boundaries without crushing confidence. Ambition without structure breeds frustration, and structure without ambition breeds stagnation. The art lies in balancing both goals that stretch capability yet remain within reach, inviting growth instead of resignation. The first step is understanding what ambitious truly means. Ambition is not a list of impressive outcomes for social approval or vanity. It is a personal declaration that one will expand capacity and mastery, reaching beyond yesterday without rejecting today. An ambitious goal should trigger a mix of excitement and fear, a tension that fuels focus rather than paralysis. If a goal feels trivial, it will not engage energy consistently. If it feels impossible, it will invite avoidance. The sweet spot lies at the edge of competence, where effort meets challenge. Begin by surveying the landscape of your current life. Examine professional, personal, intellectual, physical, and emotional dimensions. Take honest stock. Where is satisfaction lacking? Where is there stagnation? This inventory is not judgmental. It is factual. Understanding baseline capability allows ambitious goals to be framed realistically. A goal should leverage strengths while addressing areas that demand growth. The combination ensures forward momentum that feels organic, not forced. Once the landscape is clear, define the horizon. Ambitious goals require specificity. A vague aspiration such as be healthier or earn more lacks actionable pathways. Instead, define measurable endpoints. Increase daily steps to 12,000 consistently within 6 months, or grow monthly income by 25% over the next year through a defined skill upgrade. Specificity transforms desire into plan, abstract hope into tangible milestones. The clarity of measurable endpoints also reduces wasted energy on unfocused efforts, keeping every action aligned with the intended outcome. Break large ambitions into incremental steps. The mind can be overwhelmed by distant peaks. It cannot process the journey as a single leap. Divide the goal into a sequence of achievable tasks, each smaller than the whole, but building cumulative. For example, mastering a new skill might begin with dedicating 30 minutes a day to study, progressing to applying knowledge in small projects, then completing larger challenges. Each step acts as a scaffold, sustaining progress while maintaining confident achievability ensures motivation persists even when fatigue or resistance arises. Embed timing into every goal. A goal without a timeline drifts into postponement. Set realistic deadlines for each subtask, while respecting the larger horizon. Avoid the extremes of arbitrary urgency or indefinite delay. Deadlines provide rhythm and context, turning effort into measurable progress rather than abstract wishfulness. In addition, consistent timing allows reflection. By assessing performance relative to dates, adaptation becomes structured rather than reactive. Flexibility is not abandoned. It is guided by evidence rather than emotion. Anchor goals in values. Ambition divorced from personal principles is vulnerable to distraction, dissatisfaction, and burnout. Ask, does this goal honor the core values identified earlier? If the answer is no, reconsider or restructure. A goal aligned with values creates natural persistence. Challenges remain bearable because the effort is meaningful, not coerced. Achievement is not the sole reward. Fulfillment arises from congruence with the person you aim to become. Visualize the pathway, not just the endpoint. Many people focus solely on the result, imagining celebration or recognition. Visualization is more powerful when it includes the process, the effort, the setbacks, and the daily discipline. Picture yourself performing the specific actions required, encountering obstacles, making adjustments, and continuing. The brain begins to accept these scenarios as achievable, reducing fear and internal resistance. Mental rehearsal strengthens preparedness, turning anxiety about ambition into confidence in execution. Prepare for resistance and setbacks as inherent companions of ambition. Every goal that stretches capability invites friction, self-doubt, criticism, unexpected obstacles. Anticipate these as natural rather than exception. Strategize responses, develop contingency plans, adopt resilience practices, and rehearse mindset adjustments. Instead of avoiding resistance, integrate it into goal design. This anticipatory approach transforms challenges into calibration points, making the path toward achievement more resilient and sustainable. Measure progress consistently. Ambition is validated by evidence, not by hope alone. Identify specific indicators that reflect advancement toward each goal. Daily, weekly, and monthly tracking provides immediate feedback. Small wins are cumulative. They reinforce identity as someone who acts on intentions, building momentum and internal belief. Conversely, tracking uncovers deviations early, allowing corrective adjustments rather than compounding failure. The measurement itself is a tool for discipline, focus, and reinforcement. Develop accountability structures. Goals left to internal willpower alone are fragile. External accountability through mentors, peers, or structured reporting creates pressure that supports persistence. Share progress with a trusted individual or group, and define clear expectations for check-ins. Accountability is not about shame. It is a mirror for reality, highlighting what is effective and what requires adjustment. A system of accountability transforms solitary effort into a disciplined network of support, keeping ambition alive when internal motivation wanes. Balance ambition with rest and recovery. Sustainable achievement is not relentless effort, but disciplined alternation between action and restoration. Without periods of rest, progress becomes brittle, mistakes accumulate, energy dissipates, and clarity diminishes. Include recovery in goal design, rest days, reflection periods, or micro breaks in practice routines. Respecting recovery transforms ambition from a sprint into a sustainable trajectory. Growth is not merely output. It is refinement of skill, stamina, and judgment over time. Adopt a reflective ritual tied to goals. At the end of each week, review achievements, setbacks, and lessons. Ask which actions contributed most to progress, which habits impeded it. Reflective practice transforms experience into learning, ensuring that ambition is informed rather than repetitive. Reflection also enhances adaptability. Goals can be refined based on evidence and insight rather than fixed in rigid attachment. Ambition thrives in intelligent responsiveness, not blind persistence. Cultivate intrinsic motivation alongside measurable ambition. Achievement that depends solely on external validation is vulnerable to fluctuation in recognition, luck, or circumstance. Anchor desire in internal rewards. The satisfaction of disciplined effort, mastery of skill, and self-expression aligned with values. Intrinsic motivation ensures that ambition endures through inevitable periods of delayed reward, creating a steady engine of effort that external outcomes cannot disrupt. Finally, integrate visualization, measurement, accountability, and reflection into a continuous loop. Ambitious but achievable goals are not static. They evolve as skill, understanding, and circumstances grow. Each completed step informs the next. Every failure clarifies strategy, and each reflection renews perspective. By cultivating this dynamic approach, ambition becomes a disciplined rhythm rather than sporadic inspiration. Success emerges not from chance or luck, but from deliberate, persistent, and value-aligned action, sustained over time. Setting ambitious but achievable goals transforms life by creating structure around potential. Goals serve as bridges between present capability and desired reality, guiding action, shaping focus, and fostering resilience. When approached with clarity, specificity, incremental design, value alignment, and reflection, ambition is no longer a source of anxiety, but a navigable pathway to mastery. Life becomes an ongoing dialogue between aspiration and execution, a disciplined pursuit where each small victory reinforces identity and each obstacle strengthens capacity. Ambition, carefully calibrated, is the engine of deliberate transformation, ensuring that growth is steady, meaningful, and enduring. Number 3. Cultivate daily empowering habits. Number 3. Cultivating daily empowering habits begins with the recognition that life is the sum of repeated actions, not isolated efforts. Success, fulfillment, and resilience are not delivered by occasional bursts of willpower, but by consistent routines that reinforce purpose and competence. Habits shape identity silently, invisibly, like water carving canyons over centuries. What you do every day whispers who you are becoming, far louder than grand declarations or fleeting inspiration. The task is to design habits that strengthen mind, body, and character, while weaving seamlessly into daily life, creating momentum that compounds naturally. Start by identifying behaviors that directly impact your growth. Empowering habits are not arbitrary. They produce measurable benefit in alignment with personal goals and values. They may range from waking early to journal, reading a chapter of a challenging book, practicing a skill, or dedicating time to physical training. The key is consistency over intensity. Even small actions, repeated daily, carry more weight than sporadic efforts with greater energy but less discipline. Think of habits as units of leverage, each small action multiplying over weeks and months to generate profound transformation. Anchor each habit to a specific trigger or cue. Human behavior responds best to structured prompts. Instead of relying on willpower alone, attach the habit to an existing routine or environmental signal. For instance, after brushing your teeth in the morning, perform 10 minutes of meditation. When placing a book by your nightstand, read one page before sleeping. Linking actions to concrete cues removes friction, allowing the behavior to initiate automatically. Habits flourish when context is structured to support action, rather than relying solely on memory or motivation. Design habits that are simple and scalable. Complexity kills consistency. If a habit feels overwhelming, it will be skipped repeatedly. Begin with the minimal effective dose, small, manageable steps that require minimal preparation. Reading 5 pages daily is more sustainable than committing to an entire chapter in one sitting. Similarly, a 5-minute exercise routine is more likely to become consistent than an hour-long regimen requiring elaborate setup. Once a habit is firmly established, it can be expanded incrementally, creating growth without resistance. Incorporate deliberate reflection into each habit cycle. Action without awareness becomes mechanical rather than empowering. For example, if journaling is a habit, take an extra 2 minutes to ask, what did I learn today? What choices honored my values? What moments could I improve? Reflection transforms routine into insight, allowing habits to shape character consciously rather than merely fill time. This continuous feedback loop reinforces agency, making the habit a tool for conscious self-evolution rather than mere repetition. Use environmental design strategically. Surround yourself with cues and objects that facilitate positive behavior while minimizing distractions. If your goal is to improve physical fitness, keep workout clothes visible and accessible. If reading is the aim, keep books in common spaces. Conversely, remove temptations that encourage inertia or regression. Environment communicates more powerfully than intention alone. It is the silent partner that either strengthens or sabotages habits, often before conscious decision-making occurs. Incorporate accountability mechanisms to reinforce consistency. Sharing goals with a trusted friend, joining a supportive group, or maintaining a habit log adds pressure and recognition that enhances adherence. Recording progress provides tangible evidence of achievement and identifies areas needing adjustment. Accountability transforms private intention into visible action, creating external validation that complements internal discipline. It ensures habits survive fatigue, distractions, and periods of low intrinsic motivation. Balance effort with sustainability. Habits must be designed for long-term adherence rather than short-lived intensity. Overloading routines with too many ambitious habits leads to burnout and attrition. Identify core habits that provide the greatest return on personal growth and focus on mastery of these before adding additional layers. Depth matters more than breadth. A handful of well-maintained habits can have a more profound effect than dozens superficially maintained. Consistency, not volume, is the true measure of empowerment. Integrate habits into identity, not merely daily tasks. The most durable habits are those that shift self-perception. For example, instead of "I am trying to exercise," adopt "I am someone who prioritizes movement daily." When the action aligns with identity, adherence becomes less about discipline and more about being consistent with who you have decided to be. This subtle but powerful shift from activity-based to identity-based habit formation turns repetition into self-reinforcement. Track outcomes and iterate. Empowering habits are not static. They evolve in response to feedback and results. Maintain a simple system to observe effectiveness and make adjustments. If morning meditation leads to increased focus, note that and reinforce. If a habit consistently fails, examine root causes, timing, environment, complexity, and adjust rather than abandoning entirely. Iterative refinement ensures habits remain relevant, effective, and aligned with personal growth over time. Leverage the principle of habit stacking. Once one habit is firmly established, it can serve as a scaffold for additional positive behaviors. For example, if a morning routine of journaling is established, it can be followed by a 5-minute review of goals, then a brief physical exercise session. Sequential habits build momentum and create compounded benefit. Stacking reduces friction between actions and reinforces cumulative impact, turning scattered routines into coherent, purpose-driven rituals. Harness intrinsic motivation to fuel persistence. Habits maintained purely for external reward are fragile and subject to disruption. Connect habits to personal meaning and values, allowing them to become self-reinforcing. A habit becomes empowering when it contributes to a sense of purpose, mastery, or identity. The feeling of competence, progress, and alignment becomes the reward itself, creating a sustainable loop that persists even when external incentives are absent. Recognize and manage obstacles proactively. Disruptions are inevitable. Schedules change, energy dips, unexpected demands arise. Anticipate challenges by building flexibility into habits. If a full workout cannot be completed, perform a micro version. If reading time is reduced, read a page or a paragraph. Small adaptations maintain continuity, preventing breaks from becoming abandonment. Resilience in habit practice comes from persistence through variation, not perfection. Celebrate micro wins to reinforce behavior. A habit is strengthened by acknowledgement of progress, however small. Recognize completion, reflect on improvement, and savor the resulting sense of agency. This celebration is not indulgence but reinforcement, affirming the habit's contribution to growth. Positive reinforcement signals the brain to repeat the action, turning disciplined effort into an experience of reward and momentum. Align habits with energy cycles. Human performance varies throughout the day. Leveraging peak energy periods enhances adherence and effectiveness. Schedule mentally demanding tasks when focus is highest, physical training when strength and stamina are optimal, and reflection or relaxation routines when cognitive load is lower. Synchronizing habits with natural rhythms maximizes efficiency and reduces resistance, making the daily structure feel natural rather than forced. Finally, habits are the infrastructure of a thriving life. They bridge intention and action, identity and behavior, ambition and reality. Daily habits do not merely consume time, they multiply capability, resilience, and clarity. By carefully selecting, structuring, and nurturing empowering routines, life transforms from reactive drift into purposeful architecture. Consistency compounds, reflection refines, adaptation sustains, and alignment with values ensures that each repeated act strengthens the person you intend to become. Cultivating daily empowering habits is not a temporary experiment. It is a lifelong design. Each small action, repeated with awareness and intention, shapes character, strengthens autonomy, and builds momentum toward mastery. Habits define not just what is done, but who you are, turning ordinary days into a steady accumulation of capability and confidence. Over time, the deliberate cultivation of habits becomes the engine that drives transformation, ensuring that growth, achievement, and fulfillment are not left to chance, but constructed daily, moment by moment with precision, intention, and discipline. Number 4. Surround yourself with positive influences. Number 4. Surrounding yourself with positive influences is one of the most decisive steps in shaping the trajectory of your life. Humans are inherently social creatures, and the people, environments, and messages you absorb daily shape thinking, behavior, and emotional resilience. Influence operates quietly and continuously. It seeps into habits, decisions, and even self-perception. It is not merely about companionship, but about immersion in an ecosystem that elevates rather than diminishes potential. Choosing carefully whom and what to allow into this ecosystem determines whether you thrive, stagnate, or decline. Start by evaluating current associations. Observe the company you keep without judgment or defensiveness. Notice conversations that leave energy drained versus those that spark insight. Pay attention to patterns of complaint, negativity, or passive resignation. Assess how people respond to challenges and setbacks. Do they cultivate solutions and optimism, or do they reinforce fear and limitation? Awareness is the first step. You cannot curate influence without first understanding the current environment. Honest observation, free from ego, is crucial. Identify sources of inspiration and support intentionally. Positive influence comes in many forms. Mentors who have navigated paths you aspire to, peers who embody consistent discipline, and content, books, podcasts, talks that communicates wisdom and actionable insight. Influence is not limited to physical presence. Exposure to ideas, examples, and stories can shape identity, expand perspective, and instill courage. Seek out those who demonstrate qualities you admire and aspire to emulate. Their behavior provides a living curriculum for growth. Engage with those who challenge you constructively. Positive influence is not mere agreement or validation. It includes the presence of individuals who question assumptions, offer critical feedback, and stimulate reflection. Constructive challenge pushes thinking beyond comfort zones, revealing blind spots and expanding capacity. Avoid toxic validation, where praise substitutes for growth, and instead seek accountability partners who balance support with honest critique. True positive influence builds resilience by combining encouragement with accountability. Limit exposure to draining or negative forces. Not all influence is beneficial, and some interactions subtly erode motivation, confidence, and focus. Regularly audit your environment. Assess relationships, social media interactions, workplace culture, and even habitual media consumption. Reducing time with those who consistently foster pessimism, cynicism, or lethargy creates mental space for growth. Elimination is as important as addition. A clean environment allows positive inputs to have maximum effect. Immerse yourself in environments that reinforce desired habits. Influence is amplified by context. Surrounding yourself with people who value learning, discipline, and ethical action normalizes these behaviors. If health and fitness are goals, spend time with those who prioritize physical activity. If mastery is a target, engage in communities that foster skill development and excellence. The more natural and visible the desired behaviors, the more effortlessly they become internalized. Be deliberate in the messages you consume. Media, literature, and digital content are constant sources of influence. Curate this consumption to reinforce growth-oriented thinking. Exposure to stories of resilience, problem-solving, and creative achievements strengthens cognitive frameworks, while repetitive engagement with sensationalized negativity fosters passivity and fear. The quality of input shapes the quality of thought, which in turn shapes decisions and behavior. Build reciprocal relationships with high-value individuals. Positive influence is amplified through mutual exchange. Offer support, insight, or accountability to those whose influence you value. Engagement becomes a two-way process, strengthening connection and reinforcing positive behavior. Reciprocity ensures that relationships are sustainable and dynamic rather than one-sided, creating networks that nourish consistently rather than sporadically. Adopt a learning mindset in interactions. Observe behaviors, language, and decision-making patterns of those you admire. Ask questions, listen deeply, and model effective practices. Influence is absorbed most effectively through active observation and emulation, rather than passive proximity. Consider habits, attitudes, and frameworks they use to navigate challenges. Integrating these lessons into your own life accelerates development and fortifies resilience. Seek consistency over intensity and influence. Sporadic contact with inspiring individuals or content has limited effect. Consistent exposure strengthens neural pathways and habit formation. Daily rituals, regular discussions, and ongoing engagement with motivating environments ensure that influence becomes embedded in thought patterns and behavior, rather than temporary inspiration. Repetition transforms exposure into internalized principles, shaping decision-making and self-concept. Guard emotional energy vigilantly. Positive influence requires a fertile internal landscape. If emotional reserves are depleted, even constructive guidance may be misinterpreted or ignored. Develop practices to maintain emotional equilibrium. Reflection, journaling, meditation, or restorative activity. A calm, focused mind is more receptive to influence and better able to implement insights consistently. Influence is absorbed most effectively when the internal environment is stable and receptive. Create boundaries strategically. Influence is potent, but it requires selectivity. Not every relationship, opportunity, or piece of advice warrants equal attention. Establish criteria for meaningful engagement based on alignment with values, goals, and growth potential. Learning to say no to interactions that offer little constructive input preserves time and energy for what truly contributes to advancement. Boundaries are not isolation. They are protective structures that maximize positive input while minimizing dilution or distortion. Engage with diverse sources of influence. Growth requires exposure to varied perspectives. While mentors and peers within your immediate domain are valuable, interacting with people from different disciplines, cultures, and philosophies enriches thinking, creativity, and adaptability. Novel insights challenge assumptions and foster innovation. Positive influence does not mean homogeneity. It thrives in curated diversity, where constructive tension sparks learning rather than conflict. Measure the effect of influence on behavior and mindset. Periodically reflect on the impact of your network and environment. Which interactions elevate focus, resilience, or creativity? Which consistently lead to distraction, self-doubt, or erosion of discipline? Adjustment is continuous. Influence must be evaluated against tangible outcomes, not feelings alone. This reflective practice ensures that environmental design remains purposeful rather than passive. Invest in communities that reinforce accountability and aspiration. Membership in groups where shared values, goals, and standards are maintained accelerates progress. Accountability structures embedded in communities encourage persistence, problem-solving, and self-mastery. Positive influence is magnified when collective norms reward discipline, integrity, and growth-oriented behavior. Shared commitment strengthens individual adherence to ambition and reinforces resilience in the face of challenges. Model the influence you wish to absorb. Demonstrating curiosity, discipline, empathy, and ethical behavior signals receptivity and establishes credibility. Influence is mutually reinforced. Embodying the traits you admire attracts similar energy while repelling negativity. The act of living in alignment with desired influences amplifies their effect by making engagement purposeful and visible, creating a feedback loop that strengthens both character and network. Embrace subtle influence in everyday moments. Not all positive input arrives through explicit mentorship or structured learning. Casual conversations, observing behaviors, or even ambient media exposure can alter thought patterns over time. Attention to these micro-influences ensures that growth occurs across multiple dimensions, not only through deliberate interventions. Every encounter has potential to shape perception, decision-making, and motivation. Finally, recognize the long-term compounding effect of positive influence. Relationships, habits, and environments aligned with growth principles do not produce immediate results in every instance. Their value emerges over months and years. Patience, consistency, and discernment allow influence to accumulate gradually, shaping identity, decisions, and capacity. By curating an ecosystem rich in supportive, constructive, and growth-oriented inputs, personal development becomes an almost inevitable outcome of the environment you inhabit. Surrounding yourself with positive influences is not a passive process, but an active, ongoing strategy. Awareness, intentional engagement, accountability, diversity, and boundary setting combine to create an ecosystem where growth, resilience, and clarity are reinforced every day. Influence becomes a silent but powerful driver of identity, habits, and achievement. Over time, careful curation transforms the environment into a force multiplier, ensuring that daily decisions, challenges, and opportunities are met with wisdom, discipline, and enduring momentum toward personal excellence. Number 5. Embrace failure as growth opportunity. Number 5. Embracing failure as a growth opportunity begins with a shift in perspective, so profound that it changes the way life's challenges are perceived. Failure is not an endpoint or a marker of inadequacy. It is information, feedback, and a guidepost pointing toward improvement. Each setback carries lessons that, when observed without defensiveness, reveal patterns, gaps, and possibilities that success alone cannot illuminate. Growth emerges not from avoiding mistakes, but from leaning into them with courage, curiosity, and discipline. The first step is to detach identity from outcome. Too often, failure is internalized as a reflection of personal worth, which fosters shame, fear, and avoidance. Distinguish between action and self. The fact that a particular strategy did not succeed does not mean the individual is incapable or unworthy. This separation allows for objective analysis and reduces emotional turbulence that clouds learning. By observing mistakes as events rather than verdicts, the mind gains clarity and resilience to engage the situation effectively. Next, approach failure with a diagnostic mindset. Instead of reacting emotionally, ask precise questions. What factors contributed to the outcome? Which decisions, behaviors, or assumptions hindered progress? What external conditions played a role? Document these observations clearly, without judgment or self-criticism. Treat each failure like data in an experiment, noting variables, context, and results. This analytical approach transforms disappointment into strategic insight, providing a foundation for informed adjustment. Shift attention from blame to ownership. Externalizing failure onto others or circumstances is tempting but counterproductive. Real empowerment comes from acknowledging responsibility where possible, identifying what can be influenced, and adjusting actions accordingly. Ownership does not mean taking fault unnecessarily, but recognizing that decisions, preparation, and choices are levers within your control. Focusing on these levers strengthens agency and creates a sense of capability, even amid setbacks. Cultivate emotional resilience alongside analytical rigor. Failure triggers discomfort, often manifested as frustration, fear, or disappointment. These emotions are natural signals rather than obstacles. Allowing oneself to feel them fully, then regulating response through breathing, reflection, or movement, preserves mental clarity. Emotional resilience ensures that the lessons embedded in failure are not lost in the noise of self-reproach or anxiety. It turns adversity into a classroom rather than a trap. Transform reflection into actionable steps. After understanding what went wrong, identify concrete adjustments to prevent recurrence or improve future performance. Break these steps into achievable micro-actions to reduce overwhelm and maintain momentum. For instance, if a failed presentation revealed inadequate preparation, a specific action might be outline main points and rehearse in front of a mirror for 10 minutes daily prior to next session. Actionable steps convert insight into practice, ensuring failure directly fuels skill acquisition and competence. Reframe failure as feedback rather than judgment. Each unsuccessful attempt signals misalignment between plan and reality, which is invaluable information for refinement. Adopt language that emphasizes experimentation. This attempt informs what to adjust next, instead of "I failed." This subtle linguistic shift reduces psychological burden and encourages iterative learning. The brain responds to neutral or constructive framing by exploring solutions rather than retreating into avoidance. Seek multiple perspectives on failure. Input from mentors, peers, or objective observers can reveal blind spots invisible from personal vantage points. Constructive dialogue about what went wrong expands understanding, suggesting alternatives and strategies that may not have been apparent in isolation. However, filter feedback carefully. Prioritize perspectives grounded in experience, insight, and alignment with growth goals, avoiding influence that undermines confidence or distorts learning. Normalize failure as a natural component of growth. Historically, every significant advancement in human endeavor has been accompanied by missteps, errors, and setbacks. Recognize that failure is not exceptional, but expected in the pursuit of meaningful objectives. Accepting this reality removes shame and fosters persistence. When failure becomes a predictable part of the process, experimentation and risk-taking increase, unlocking potential that cautious, error-averse approaches cannot reach. Create rituals to extract lessons consistently. After any setback, formalize a reflection process. Write a brief account of what occurred, highlight what can be learned, note immediate next steps, and set a time to implement adjustments. This habit turns sporadic insight into structured development. Ritualized reflection ensures that mistakes are neither ignored nor exaggerated, but systematically transformed into growth. Embrace small, iterative experimentation. Rather than aiming for flawless execution, view each action as a test. Each attempt, regardless of outcome, provides insight into strategy, timing, or approach. Small-scale experiments reduce risk while maximizing learning potential. Iterative testing also builds confidence, as repeated engagement demonstrates capacity to adapt, adjust, and improve, even under imperfect conditions. Develop patience with progress. Growth through failure is rarely instantaneous. Insights often require repetition and practice before translating into mastery. Recognize that repeated failure is not regression, but part of the accumulation of skill and wisdom. Celebrate persistence and incremental improvement rather than solely outcomes. The journey of learning deepens understanding, strengthens character, and fosters durability far beyond immediate victory. Use failure to cultivate humility. Setbacks illuminate limitations, revealing areas where knowledge, skill, or judgment must expand. This humility prevents arrogance, nurtures receptivity to learning, and encourages collaboration. Individuals who embrace failure understand the value of adaptability, perspective, and patience, recognizing that improvement is ongoing and mastery is iterative rather than fixed. Humility transforms failure from humiliation into insight. Combine reflection with visualization of future application. After analyzing failure, mentally rehearse alternative approaches in detail. Visualize responses, adjustments, and corrective measures in realistic scenarios. Mental rehearsal reinforces problem solving, reduces uncertainty, and strengthens the likelihood of applying lessons effectively. This integration of cognition and foresight converts abstract understanding into actionable strategy, bridging analysis and performance. Anchor failure in long-term purpose. Immediate setbacks can feel disproportionate, but situating them within a broader vision maintains perspective. Ask, how does this experience serve long-term growth or skill acquisition? What enduring capacities are being strengthened? Purpose-oriented framing transforms temporary discomfort into strategic investment, reinforcing resilience and sustaining motivation across multiple attempts. Encourage a mindset that rewards experimentation. Celebrate attempts rather than solely outcomes. Recognize courage in taking action, regardless of result. This practice strengthens intrinsic motivation and reduces fear of misstep, fostering an environment where innovation, creativity, and risk-taking are natural. When action is valued alongside results, failure becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Integrate failure experiences into broader patterns of improvement. Track recurrent challenges, mistakes, or bottlenecks to identify trends. Systematic recording transforms anecdotal setbacks into structured insight. Patterns reveal gaps in knowledge, skill, or strategy that might otherwise remain hidden. Recognizing trends enables proactive measures rather than reactive fixes, creating a strategic advantage from experience. Finally, embrace a philosophy that perceives failure as essential. Each setback is a teacher, each obstacle a catalyst, each error a signal pointing toward refinement. When approached with curiosity, courage, and discipline, failure catalyzes learning, strengthens resilience, and deepens mastery. By reframing mistakes as opportunities rather than punishments, setbacks become integral to advancement, guiding growth with clarity, focus, and enduring momentum. Embracing failure as a growth opportunity is not about seeking defeat, but about recognizing its inevitability and harnessing it. Through detachment, analysis, reflection, feedback, iteration, and purpose-aligned action, every misstep contributes to development. Life becomes a laboratory of skill, judgment, and resilience, where every experience, positive or negative, is evidence for refinement. Over time, this perspective transforms setbacks from fear-inducing events into deliberate instruments of progress, ensuring that each failure strengthens rather than diminishes the journey toward personal excellence and self-mastery. Number 6. Practice consistent self-reflection techniques. Number 6. Practicing consistent self-reflection techniques begins with a commitment to pause deliberately amidst the rhythm of daily life. The human mind is often pulled in multiple directions, occupied with tasks, stimuli, and obligations. Without reflection, decisions, habits, and actions accumulate without examination, forming a life shaped more by reaction than intention. Self-reflection is the process of stepping back, observing patterns of thought, behavior, and emotion, and extracting insights that inform growth. It is both a mirror and a compass, revealing what is working, what requires adjustment, and what aligns with deeper purpose. Start by establishing a daily reflection window. Even 10 minutes at the beginning or end of a day can be transformative if practiced consistently. Create an environment conducive to focus, quiet, minimal distractions, and comfortable seating. Use tools that support clarity, such as a notebook, digital journal, or audio recorder. The physical act of writing or speaking thoughts forces organization and depth, making fleeting impressions tangible and actionable. Repetition over time builds a rhythm, embedding reflection as a natural part of life rather than a sporadic activity. Focus initially on 3 primary domains: thoughts, actions, and emotions. Observe thoughts without judgment. Which ideas dominate attention? Are they constructive, repetitive, or limiting? Noticing thought patterns allows recognition of cognitive habits that shape behavior. Next, examine actions objectively. What was accomplished, avoided, or approached with hesitation? Identify areas where choices aligned with values and those that diverged. Finally, explore emotional response. Emotional patterns reveal triggers, vulnerabilities, and strengths, providing insight into how internal states influence decision-making. Use structured questioning to deepen reflection. Open-ended prompts guide attention to relevant areas while allowing discovery. Examples include: what am I proud of today, and why? Which actions did not serve my goals or values? How did I respond under pressure? And what could have been improved? What habits supported my growth, and which hindered it? Such questions direct the mind toward evaluation without reducing reflection to vague rumination. They create a systematic approach that extracts practical insight from lived experience. Adopt the practice of journaling as a core technique. Writing thoughts and experiences externalizes them, enabling clearer analysis. Use both descriptive and evaluative styles. Describe events factually, then explore meaning, lessons, and potential adjustments. Over time, the record itself becomes a valuable resource for observing patterns, assessing progress, and identifying recurring challenges. The act of writing crystallizes thoughts, turning ephemeral perceptions into enduring guidance. Incorporate mindfulness as a complementary tool. Awareness of the present moments strengthens reflection by grounding observations in reality rather than interpretation or bias. Mindful attention to sensations, breathing, and mental focus enhances clarity, allowing the mind to perceive patterns without distortion. This presence reduces habitual judgment or emotional escalation, fostering objective insight into behavior, decisions, and emotional responses. Reflection without presence risks becoming self-critique rather than growth-oriented evaluation. Engage in retrospective analysis weekly or monthly. Beyond daily reflection, periodic reviews allow perspective on broader trends. Examine cumulative decisions, habits, and outcomes over a longer time frame. Ask what repeated behaviors contributed most to success, which recurring errors limited progress, how have values guided choices consistently or inconsistently. Identifying longitudinal patterns reveals structural adjustments needed for long-term alignment and improvement. Integrate feedback from others into reflection. External perspectives often illuminate blind spots, invisible to self-observation alone. Solicit honest insights from mentors, peers, or trusted confidants. Compare their observations with internal perceptions, noting congruencies and discrepancies. Feedback expands understanding, highlighting areas for growth and confirming effective strategies. Incorporating external viewpoints ensures reflection is balanced, grounded, and actionable. Create visualization exercises that complement reflective journaling. Imagine scenarios where choices could be improved, responses adjusted, or opportunities maximized. Visual rehearsal strengthens foresight, preparing the mind for future challenges and enhancing problem solving. This proactive aspect of reflection shifts practice from reactive observation to strategic planning, ensuring insights translate into practical readiness rather than abstract knowledge. Evaluate alignment between actions and core values. Reflection is most effective when it connects behavior to underlying principles. For each decision or habit, ask, did this choice reinforce or undermine my values? This evaluation cultivates intentionality, ensuring life is shaped by priorities rather than impulse. Values-based reflection strengthens discipline, sharpens judgment, and creates consistency between intention and action. Adopt a habit of questioning assumptions. Reflection is not merely recounting events, but interrogating beliefs that drive behavior. Challenge automatic thoughts. Why did I react this way? What beliefs influenced my choices? Are these beliefs accurate, useful, or aligned with desired outcomes? Assumption testing encourages cognitive flexibility and prevents stagnation, enabling learning from both success and failure. Use metrics where possible to enhance clarity. Reflection benefits from tangible data, goals completed, hours dedicated to practice, or measurable improvements in performance. Objective indicators supplement subjective evaluation, providing concrete feedback. Combining qualitative insight with quantitative evidence strengthens decision-making and allows precise adjustments. This integration ensures reflection is practical and rooted in observable reality rather than abstraction. Practice gratitude within reflection sessions. Recognizing positive outcomes, effort, and progress balances critical evaluation. Gratitude cultivates psychological resilience, reinforcing motivation and sustaining engagement with self-reflection. By acknowledging strengths and achievements alongside challenges, reflection nurtures constructive awareness rather than fostering negativity or self-doubt. The interplay of insight and appreciation enhances mental clarity and emotional equilibrium. Develop rituals for consistency. Consistency amplifies impact. Sporadic reflection produces fragmented insight. Schedule sessions at predictable times, use prompts, and maintain a dedicated space or notebook. Repetition embeds the process into the rhythm of life, transforming reflection from an occasional exercise into an automatic mechanism for continuous learning and self-improvement. Habitual reflection strengthens self-awareness, accelerates personal growth, and increases adaptability. Incorporate scenario-based reflection. Imagine alternative choices in past situations and evaluate potential outcomes. What might have been achieved with different decisions? How would responses shift with altered strategies? Scenario-based reflection deepens understanding of cause and effect relationships, enhances decision-making capacity, and develops strategic thinking. This mental rehearsal ensures lessons from experience are internalized and applicable to future challenges. Balance depth with focus. Reflection should be comprehensive yet concentrated on areas of greatest impact. Avoid excessive rumination over trivial matters, instead prioritizing insights that influence growth, decision-making, and alignment with purpose. This selective depth ensures reflection is efficient, actionable, and emotionally sustainable, reinforcing progress without overloading cognitive resources. Track evolution over time. Periodically review past reflections to measure development in thinking, behavior, and emotional regulation. Recognizing growth reinforces motivation, validates effort, and provides context for future adjustments. Tracking progress creates a narrative of self-improvement, reinforcing identity as someone capable of learning, adapting, and consistently striving toward higher levels of competence and fulfillment. Finally, integrate reflection into decision-making loops. Use insights gained to inform daily choices, habit formation, and strategic planning. Reflection is not merely observation, but a mechanism for continual adjustment and growth. Each session strengthens judgment, fosters clarity, and builds resilience, ensuring actions align with values, goals, and evolving understanding. By making self-reflection consistent, deliberate, and structured, life becomes a laboratory for intentional growth, where experience, insight, and conscious choice converge to cultivate wisdom, discipline, and enduring personal excellence. Practicing consistent self-reflection techniques transforms life by converting experience into learning, reaction into deliberation, and observation into intentional growth. Over time, it enhances awareness, strengthens emotional intelligence, clarifies priorities, and improves decision-making. Reflection becomes both shield and compass. It protects against repeated errors while guiding toward alignment, mastery, and resilience. This deliberate engagement with one's inner landscape ensures that progress is steady, insightful, and sustainable, fostering a life shaped by conscious choice rather than drift. Number 7. Strengthen mental and emotional resilience. Number 7. Strengthening mental and emotional resilience begins with recognizing that adversity is not a barrier to success, but a tool for growth. Life's unpredictability, stress, setbacks, and uncertainty is inevitable. The measure of mastery is not the absence of challenge, but the ability to remain steady, resourceful, and purposeful in the face of it. Resilience is cultivated deliberately. It is a set of practices, perspectives, and habits that transform pressure into clarity, difficulty into insight, and stress into opportunity. Developing resilience requires sustained effort, self-awareness, and the courage to confront discomfort directly rather than avoiding it. Start by observing how the mind reacts under stress. Mental resilience is grounded in awareness of thought patterns during pressure. Notice the tendency to catastrophize, ruminate, or retreat. By identifying habitual reactions, it becomes possible to intervene before emotions dictate actions. Awareness is the first step because resilience begins with the ability to choose responses rather than be controlled by them. Recognizing triggers, whether external events or internal narratives, allows for preemptive strategies that reduce volatility and enhance control. Cultivate a practice of emotional regulation. Emotions are powerful signals, but unchecked, they can overwhelm judgment. Techniques such as deep breathing, mindfulness, and cognitive reframing help maintain composure under strain. Breathing exercises lower physiological arousal and provide mental space to analyze situations objectively. Mindfulness fills attention, allowing observation of emotions without attachment or impulsive reaction. Cognitive reframing replaces limiting interpretations with constructive perspectives, transforming perceived threats into challenges to navigate. These practices are not theoretical. Repeated application trains the nervous system to remain centered and uncertain. Develop tolerance for discomfort intentionally. Resilience grows when the mind becomes accustomed to facing difficulty rather than avoiding it. Seek situations that require patience, effort, or emotional courage. This might involve tackling demanding projects, engaging in challenging conversations, or voluntarily taking on tasks outside comfort zones. Each encounter with manageable difficulty strengthens adaptive capacity, making larger challenges less destabilizing. Discomfort is a training ground for endurance, decision-making under pressure, and confidence in one's ability to persist. Strengthen problem-solving capacity. Resilient individuals approach obstacles systematically rather than reactively, break complex problems into smaller, actionable steps, evaluate options, anticipate consequences, and select a course based on values and long-term priorities. Problem-solving reduces anxiety by providing a framework for action, replacing paralysis with clarity. The practice of structured thinking builds trust in one's own judgment, which fortifies both mental and emotional resilience over time. Integrate reflection and learning into challenges. After navigating a difficult situation, review actions, outcomes, and emotional responses. Ask, what strategies were effective? What could be improved? What lessons can inform future encounters? Reflection converts experience into insight, ensuring that each adversity contributes to growth, rather than lingering as unprocessed stress. Over time, the accumulation of lessons strengthens confidence, adaptability, and the capacity to face novel situations. Build physical resilience to support mental and emotional strength. The mind and body are interdependent. Regular exercise, adequate sleep, and balanced nutrition enhance energy, focus, and emotional regulation. Physical conditioning creates endurance, fortifying the nervous system to respond to stress more efficiently. Practices such as cold exposure, controlled fasting, or endurance training can intentionally push limits, demonstrating the body's capacity to recover, which reinforces confidence in mental resilience. Strengthen social support networks. Emotional resilience is amplified by relationships that provide encouragement, perspective, and honest feedback. Seek individuals who model composure under pressure, offer constructive guidance, and foster trust. Supportive connections buffer stress, provide practical advice, and offer accountability. Engaging in reciprocal support, both giving and receiving, reinforces confidence and cultivates a sense of belonging, reducing ooziness during periods of strain. Adopt a growth-oriented mindset. Challenges and setbacks are reframed as opportunities to expand competence, rather than as failures. This mindset shifts focus from threat to learning. Ask, what skill, insight, or capacity can be strengthened through this experience? By interpreting difficulties as stepping stones, resilience is reinforced because adversity becomes a teacher rather than a burden. Over time, the brain becomes conditioned to seek opportunity and challenge rather than to retreat from it. Practice self-compassion to maintain endurance. Resilience does not require unyielding perfection or relentless self-criticism. Treat mistakes as information rather than condemnation. Acknowledge effort, recognize progress, and offer patience when adaptation takes longer than expected. Self-compassion preserves energy, sustains motivation, and prevents emotional depletion. Balancing discipline with kindness ensures resilience is sustainable rather than rigid or brittle. Train focus and attention deliberately. Mental resilience depends on the ability to maintain clarity amid distraction or pressure. Exercises that enhance concentration, such as meditation, focused work sessions, or cognitive tasks, improve the mind's capacity to operate under stress. Controlled focus strengthens decision-making, reduces impulsivity, and enhances emotional regulation, forming a foundation for effective action when challenges arise. Establish routines that reinforce stability. Daily structure provides predictability, reducing cognitive load and emotional volatility. Habits, such as morning rituals, consistent work periods, and reflection practices anchor the day, ensuring that stressors do not destabilize performance. Routines act as scaffolding, allowing energy to be directed toward adaptive problem-solving rather than recovering from chaos or distraction. Consistency strengthens confidence and provides a baseline from which to engage challenges effectively. Develop anticipation and contingency planning skills. Part of resilience is preparation. Evaluate potential scenarios, identify vulnerabilities, and plan responses. Anticipation reduces uncertainty, which is a major source of emotional stress. Having contingency strategies allows for adaptive flexibility, ensuring that setbacks do not induce panic, but are met with informed strategic action. The proactive mind remains steady because it is equipped with options rather than caught unprepared. Embrace reflection on personal values as a stabilizing guide. During moments of pressure, clarity about what matters most provides orientation. Values act as an anchor, allowing decisions and responses to be consistent, even in turbulent circumstances. When choices are guided by principles rather than fear or impulse, mental equilibrium is preserved, and resilience becomes the natural byproduct of alignment with purpose. Engage in deliberate exposure to challenge over time. Resilience is cumulative, built through repeated encounters with manageable adversity. Gradually increasing difficulty strengthens capacity and confidence. Incremental exposure allows adaptation without overwhelming the system, teaching the mind and emotions that stress can be endured, navigated, and leveraged. Mastery grows through repeated engagement rather than avoidance. Finally, integrate all elements into a cohesive practice: awareness, emotional regulation, physical conditioning, problem solving, reflection, social support, value alignment, and incremental challenge form an interconnected system. Strengthening one area reinforces others, creating compounding benefits. Mental and emotional resilience becomes a skill set cultivated consciously, resulting in steadiness under pressure, clarity in decision-making, and confidence in navigating uncertainty. Strengthening mental and emotional resilience transforms life by converting vulnerability into capability. Adversity becomes a source of insight rather than fear. Each challenge navigated increases self-trust, enhances judgment, and fortifies emotional stability. Over time, the disciplined cultivation of resilience allows individuals to engage life with steadiness, presence, and purpose. Through intentional practice, the mind and heart are trained to absorb shocks, respond with clarity, and emerge stronger from every encounter, ensuring that personal growth, stability, and achievement are sustained even amidst the inevitable turbulence of life. Number 8. Prioritize health, mind, and body. Number 8. Prioritizing health, both of mind and body, is not merely a lifestyle choice, but the foundation for every other aspect of personal growth and achievement. The mind and body operate as an interconnected system. Physical well-being fuels cognitive clarity, emotional stability, and resilience, while mental and emotional health influence energy levels, motivation, and decision-making. Neglect in one area reverberates across others, reducing capacity for focus, discipline, and sustained effort. Optimal performance, lasting energy, and personal mastery require deliberate attention to physical, mental, and emotional wellness as non-negotiable priorities. Begin with the recognition that health is cumulative and preventative rather than reactive. Waiting until fatigue, illness, or burnout forces intervention rather than design is inefficient. Daily actions, nutrition, movement, sleep, mental stimulation, and stress management create compounding effects over time. Each small, consistent choice reinforces a foundation upon which greater capability and endurance are built. Small, purposeful adjustments in routine have ripple effects, sustaining energy, clarity, and emotional equilibrium even under pressure. Nutrition forms the first pillar of well-being. The body and brain require fuel that supports cognitive function, hormone balance, and sustained energy. Prioritize whole foods, vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates that provide both macro and micronutrients, essential for cellular function. Hydration is equally vital, as even mild dehydration can impair focus, memory, and mood regulation. Thoughtful planning of meals and snacks prevents energy crashes, supports immune function, and maintains metabolic efficiency. Nutritional discipline is not restriction, but strategic investment in performance and longevity. Exercise is the second critical pillar. Physical activity strengthens the heart, muscles, and skeletal system, but its influence extends to mental clarity, mood regulation, and cognitive agility. Aerobic activity enhances circulation, delivering oxygen to the brain and improving focus. Resistance training builds strength and posture, which supports overall endurance. Flexibility and mobility practices reduce injury risk and enhance energy efficiency. Exercise also stimulates neurochemical balance, releasing endorphins and other neurotransmitters that stabilize mood and increase resilience against stress. Consistency, even in short sessions, compounds into profound benefit. Sleep is often underestimated, but forms the foundation of physical and mental health. Quality sleep restores cognitive function, emotional regulation, and cellular repair. Establishing regular sleep routines, including consistent bed and wake times, minimizing screen exposure, and creating a calming environment, enhances restorative quality. Inadequate or inconsistent sleep reduces focus, decision-making capacity, and emotional stability, undermining even the most disciplined effort elsewhere. Sleep is not passive downtime. It is an active component of performance optimism. Mental stimulation and challenge strengthen cognitive resilience. Engaging the brain through reading, problem-solving, creative expression, or learning new skills maintains neuroplasticity, adaptability, and memory function. Intellectual exercise is as crucial as physical exercise, ensuring that the mind remains agile and capable of navigating complexity. Novel challenges stretch cognitive capacity, while structured practice solidifies mastery. Regular mental engagement builds confidence and equips individuals to respond effectively to unforeseen challenges. Emotional well-being requires attention and intentional practices. Stress is unavoidable, but unmanaged stress impairs immune function, focus, and emotional regulation. Techniques such as meditation, journaling, controlled breathing, or mindful movement cultivate calm, clarity, and awareness. Emotional resilience grows when patterns of reaction are observed and consciously adjusted. Positive emotional habits, including gratitude, reflection, and constructive self-talk, fortify mental frameworks, supporting sustained engagement with challenges. Prioritize preventive healthcare. Regular medical, dental, and mental health checkups ensure early identification of potential concerns, reducing the risk of chronic issues. Awareness and proactive intervention allow continued performance without disruption. Prevention demonstrates foresight and self-responsibility, aligning with the broader principle of intentional living. Vigilance in healthcare is not fear-driven, but disciplined investment in sustaining capability. Integrate recovery and rest intentionally. Overtraining, excessive work, or constant stimulation deplete both physical and mental reserves. Scheduled rest, through light activity, mindfulness, or leisure, allows the body to repair and the mind to consolidate learning. Recovery is an active component of resilience and performance, not indulgence. Strategic rest enhances productivity, reduces susceptibility to burnout, and maintains motivation over the long term. Monitor and adapt personal routines. Each individual has unique rhythms, sensitivities, and capacities. Observe patterns in energy, focus, and emotional states in response to diet, exercise, and mental workload. Adjust habits to align with these observations for maximum efficiency and sustainability. Personalization ensures that wellness strategies are effective and enduring rather than arbitrary or imposed. Cultivate a support network that reinforces health goals. Surround yourself with people who value well-being and model disciplined habits. Shared commitment fosters accountability, motivation, and consistency. Social support also provides emotional buffering against stress, enhancing resilience. Positive influences amplify personal commitment, creating an environment where health is reinforced daily rather than relying solely on willpower. Develop awareness of environmental factors that influence health. Quality of air, light, noise, and workspace, ergonomics, all impact cognitive function, emotional stability, and physical comfort. Optimizing these factors enhances performance and reduces stress. Small adjustments like proper lighting, organization, or exposure to natural elements can have significant cumulative benefits for both mind and body. Address habits that undermine health consciously. Awareness of behaviors such as overconsumption of processed foods, excessive screen time, sedentary lifestyle, or sleep disruption allows targeted interventions. Gradual replacement of detrimental habits with supportive routines strengthens self-discipline and prevents deterioration. Intentional substitution is more sustainable than deprivation because it maintains satisfaction while enhancing outcomes. Practice consistency over perfection. Health is sustained through repeated, manageable actions rather than extreme or sporadic efforts. Daily adherence to foundational practices, balanced nutrition, movement, sleep, and emotional regulation compounds over weeks and months, producing profound improvements in energy, clarity, and resilience. Minor lapses are natural but should not derail overall commitment. Momentum is built through persistence, not occasional extremes. Integrate holistic approaches that connect mind, body, and spirit. Practices such as yoga, tai chi, meditation, or mindful movement synchronize physical activity with mental focus and emotional calm. Holistic engagement enhances awareness, coordination, and balance, reinforcing interconnectedness between physical and cognitive systems. This integration strengthens resilience, supports focus, and deepens the capacity for disciplined action across life domains. Finally, recognize that prioritizing health is not selfish, it is essential. A body and mind in optimal conditions sustain higher performance, clearer thinking, emotional stability, and the capacity to pursue personal and professional goals effectively. Neglect undermines growth in every other area. By committing to intentional practices that nurture physical, mental, and emotional wellness, life becomes sustainable, energy is preserved, and the ability to navigate challenges with clarity, discipline, and strength is enhanced. Prioritizing health, mind, and body transforms daily living into a strategic practice of capability. Each deliberate choice, nutrition, exercise, sleep, mental challenge, emotional care, and environmental awareness contributes to cumulative strength and resilience. Over time, these integrated habits create a robust foundation upon which personal growth, achievement, and well-being thrive. By honoring the interdependence of mind and body, life becomes not only more productive, but more balanced, focused, and deeply aligned with purpose, ensuring that physical vitality, mental acuity, and emotional stability remain constants in the pursuit of excellence. Number 9. Master time management and focus. Number 9. Mastering time management and focus is one of the most powerful tools for creating a life of achievement and clarity. Time is finite, and its passage is relentless. Once a moment is lost, it cannot be reclaimed. Mastery over time begins with understanding that attention is the currency of effectiveness. Every choice about how you allocate energy, prioritize tasks, and direct focus determines outcomes far more than effort alone. Without deliberate control over both time and focus, ambition becomes scattered, productivity falters, and potential remains unfulfilled. The first step is to develop a clear understanding of priorities. Not all tasks are equal in value or impact. Identify the activities that contribute most directly to personal growth, long-term goals, and meaningful outcomes. Use the principle of high leverage. Concentrate effort on what produces disproportionate results. Clarifying priorities provides a framework for decision-making, ensuring that attention is reserved for actions that truly matter, rather than being dissipated across trivial distractions. Set concrete boundaries for time. Structure the day intentionally, defining blocks for deep work, routine tasks, and rest. Guard these periods against intrusion. By assigning dedicated time for specific tasks, focus becomes natural rather than forced. Boundaries create psychological clarity, signaling to the mind when engagement is required and when recovery is permissible. Clear temporal limits prevent overextension and cultivate sustained energy across the day. Develop techniques for sustained focus. The ability to concentrate deeply is a skill that can be trained. Practices such as the Pomodoro technique, time blocking, or single-task immersion reduce the fragmentation caused by multitasking. Avoid constant switching between tasks, as attention residue diminishes efficiency and increases fatigue. Structured focus periods enhance cognitive performance, allowing complex problems to be approached with clarity and precision. Minimize distractions deliberately. Identify environmental and digital interruptions that fragment attention. Silence notifications, organize workspace, and limit exposure to social media or non-essential digital content during focus periods. Distractions are not merely inconveniences. They erode cognitive capacity, increase stress, and reduce effectiveness. Curating a controlled environment reinforces focus, transforming attention into a renewable resource rather than a chaotic drain. Integrate reflection on time usage. At the end of each day, review how time was spent and whether it aligned with priorities. Identify patterns of wasted or misallocated effort. Reflection transforms passive routines into conscious management, providing insight into where adjustments are needed. Over time, iterative analysis sharpens both judgment and efficiency, allowing attention and energy to flow toward the most impactful endeavors. Plan proactively rather than reactively. Each day and week should be guided by intention rather than circumstance. Anticipate high-priority tasks, allocate sufficient blocks of time, and prepare resources in advance. Reactive approaches lead to crisis-driven behavior and fragmented focus. Proactive planning ensures that important actions are completed with attention and quality, rather than deferred or compromised due to poor preparation. Use goal setting as a structural framework. Clear, measurable objectives provide direction for time allocation and attention. Breaking large goals into actionable milestones allows progress to be tracked and motivates sustained focus. Without explicit goals, time becomes amorphous and attention diffuses. Purpose-driven action anchors daily effort in meaningful outcomes, making each decision about time allocation intentional. Cultivate the ability to say no. Effective time management is as much about elimination as execution. Declining requests, distractions, or activities that do not align with priorities preserves focus and energy. Saying no is an assertion of control over personal agency, ensuring that attention remains directed toward high-value actions rather than being siphoned off by external demands. Boundaries protect both time and mental clarity. Harness the power of routines. Consistent daily patterns reduce cognitive load and enhance automaticity in essential behaviors. Morning and evening routines, scheduled breaks, and predictable workflows create scaffolding for focus, reducing decision fatigue. Predictable patterns free the mind for high-level thinking, problem-solving, and creative insight. Over time, routines become the framework upon which deep work and effective time use are built. Practice mindfulness to strengthen attention. Mindful awareness of thoughts, impulses, and environmental stimuli enhances the ability to redirect focus intentionally. When the mind wanders or distraction arises, mindfulness allows conscious return to the task at hand, rather than reactive drift. This mental training strengthens self-discipline and ensures that cognitive resources are applied where they matter most. Balance intensity with recovery. Focus is not infinite, and sustained attention requires rest and renewal. Integrate short breaks, physical movement, and mental relaxation into periods of work to maintain peak performance. Overextension reduces efficiency, degrades decision quality, and increases error rates. Recovery is a strategic investment, allowing the mind to sustain high-quality attention over extended periods. Leverage tools and systems for efficiency. Calendars, task managers, and prioritization frameworks streamline execution and reduce mental clutter. Use technology strategically to automate routine actions and maintain awareness of deadlines. Systems reduce cognitive friction, freeing mental capacity for higher-order thinking and complex problem-solving. Efficiency tools amplify both time management and the quality of focus when used intentionally rather than passively. Monitor and adjust focus strategies. Not all methods are equally effective for every individual or task. Periodically evaluate which approaches, time blocking, batching, or sequential tasking, produce the best results. Tailor techniques to personal rhythms, energy patterns, and cognitive strengths. Iterative optimization ensures that focus is continuously refined, maintaining alignment with both personal capacity and evolving goals. Integrate energy management alongside time management. Attention is influenced by physical and mental energy levels. Align demanding tasks with peak energy periods and schedule less intensive or routine work when energy dips. Eating patterns, hydrations, sleep quality, and physical activity all influence cognitive stamina. Managing energy intentionally ensures that focus is not merely a function of discipline, but is supported by physiological readiness. Address procrastination with strategic interventions. Identify underlying causes, fear, overwhelm, or lack of clarity, and apply specific tactics to overcome them. Breaking tasks into smaller steps, creating immediate deadlines, and pairing action with reward can reduce inertia. Overcoming procrastination preserves time, strengthens self-efficacy, and reinforces the habit of deliberate focus, making attention a reliable asset rather than a fragile resource. Cultivate long-term vision in alignment with time use. Every decision about attention should be informed by overarching goals and desired outcomes. Viewing time as an investment rather than a commodity reframes choices, motivating discipline and patience. Short-term discomfort or deferred gratification becomes tolerable when contextualized within broader purpose, enhancing both focus and strategic decision-making. Finally, integrate reflection, planning, and discipline into a cohesive daily practice. Mastery over time and attention is not accidental. It is the result of deliberate, sustained effort, awareness, structured routines, environmental optimization, energy management, goal alignment, and selective engagement combine to create an ecosystem where focus can thrive and time is used intentionally. Mastering time management and focus transforms life by converting every moment into a strategic opportunity for growth and achievement. It ensures that energy is applied purposefully, decisions are informed, and progress accumulates steadily toward meaningful goals. Through disciplined planning, conscious prioritization, and deliberate cultivation of attention, time becomes a tool of empowerment rather than a source of stress, enabling individuals to act with clarity, precision, and enduring momentum toward personal excellence. Number 10. Celebrate progress, adjust and repeat. Number 10. Celebrating progress, adjusting, and repeating is the final, yet perhaps most vital element in the journey of becoming your best self. Progress is not merely a destination or a single achievement. It is the accumulation of daily choices, consistent effort, and deliberate action. Recognizing and honoring these incremental wins is essential because it fuels motivation, reinforces confidence, and solidifies habits that compound over time. Too often, people overlook progress, focusing solely on what remains unachieved, which erodes morale and diminishes resilience. Celebrating progress creates a psychological momentum that energizes continued growth and cultivates a mindset attuned to achievement and learning. Begin by defining what progress looks like in measurable and meaningful terms. Progress is relative. What constitutes advancement for one person may differ for another. It is essential to identify concrete markers of development: skills acquired, obstacles overcome, habits formed, or milestones reached. These markers provide tangible evidence of effort paying off and create a basis for celebration. Without clear criteria, progress may feel abstract, leaving effort unacknowledged and enthusiasm undercut. Acknowledge even the smallest victories. Transformation is rarely instantaneous. Tiny steps, when consistent, produce exponential results over time. Recognizing minor improvements, completing a difficult task, maintaining a new habit, or overcoming a personal limitation reinforces positive behavior and strengthens self-efficacy. By celebrating incremental wins, the brain associates effort with reward, which in turn encourages persistence and resilience in facing future challenges. Express gratitude for achievements. Reflection on progress is enhanced when paired with acknowledgement of the effort and circumstances that enabled it. Gratitude heightens awareness of resources, support, and personal discipline, creating a sense of abundance rather than scarcity. This mindset increases motivation, reduces stress, and reinforces the connection between intentional effort and tangible outcomes. Gratitude transforms celebration into a meaningful, reflective practice rather than mere acknowledgement. Balance celebration with humility. Recognizing progress should inspire, not inflate ego. Maintain awareness that growth is ongoing and that each achievement is part of a larger trajectory. Humility preserves openness to learning and adaptation, ensuring that progress serves as fuel for continued improvement rather than a source of complacency. Acknowledging both achievement and remaining challenges strengthens resilience and maintains forward momentum. Engage in structured reflection alongside celebration. Take time to analyze what strategies, actions, or habits contributed to success. Identify patterns that produced positive outcomes and note areas that still require adjustment. Structured reflection transforms celebration into a dual-purpose exercise. It honors accomplishment while simultaneously generating insight for future action. This integration ensures that joy in progress is linked to strategic development rather than becoming detached or superficial. Adjust strategies based on insight. Progress often reveals both what works and what does not. Use these lessons to refine approaches, redirect effort, and optimize methods. Adjustment is not a sign of failure, but a demonstration of adaptability and intelligence. Continuous recalibration ensures that effort is efficient, purposeful, and aligned with evolving goals, preventing stagnation and enhancing the trajectory of growth. Celebrate milestones in a manner that reinforces positive behavior. Rituals, acknowledgments, or small rewards serve as markers of achievement, reinforcing habits and providing motivation for subsequent efforts. The form of celebration can be personal, meaningful, and sustainable. Anything that strengthens commitment and generates enthusiasm. Positive reinforcement cements new behaviors and reinforces the psychological association between effort, reward, and self-discipline. Integrate accountability into the cycle. Share progress with trusted mentors, peers, or accountability partners. External acknowledgement magnifies the motivational impact of internal celebration and ensures objectivity in assessing achievements. Accountability reinforces commitment, encourages consistency, and maintains alignment with long-term goals. This social dimension strengthens both confidence and discipline, supporting sustained growth. Maintain a forward-looking mindset after celebrating. Celebration is not an endpoint. It is a transitional moment that bridges past achievement with future ambition. Immediately following recognition of progress, define the next set of objectives and plan actionable steps to pursue them. This sequencing transforms success into momentum, ensuring that energy generated from celebration is channeled toward continued advancement rather than dissipating into complacency or stagnation. Cultivate resilience by viewing setbacks as part of the cycle. Even while celebrating progress, remain aware that obstacles are inevitable. Integrating setbacks into the same framework, celebrating lessons learned, adjusting strategies, and repeating effort maintains forward momentum despite temporary failures. Resilience emerges when progress and challenge are perceived as intertwined rather than separate, creating a stable psychological foundation for long-term achievement. Practice iterative improvement. The cycle of celebration, reflection, adjustment, and repetition creates a compounding effect over time. Each iteration refines skills, enhances judgment, and strengthens habits. Growth is accelerated when this process is deliberate, continuous, and integrated into daily routines. Iteration ensures that learning is not sporadic, but embedded into the fabric of personal development, creating sustained, meaningful transformation. Develop a system for tracking progress. Documentation through journals, charts, or digital tools provides visual evidence of advancement. Tracking reinforces the perception of growth, motivates continued effort, and provides a concrete basis for reflection and adjustment. When progress is visible, even slow or incremental improvement becomes tangible, sustaining morale and enhancing clarity about the next steps. Celebrate intrinsic qualities alongside external outcomes. Progress is not solely measured in results. The development of discipline, patience, resilience, and self-awareness is equally significant. Recognizing personal growth in character, mindset, and emotional strength ensures that celebration is holistic rather than focused exclusively on external achievements. This approach deepens motivation and aligns success with long-term values. Reinforce repetition through habit formation. Each completed cycle of effort, recognition, and adjustment strengthens the neurological pathways that support consistent performance. Habitual reinforcement makes focus, discipline, and reflection automatic over time. Repetition ensures that progress is cumulative and that the principles of growth, consistent effort, learning from experience, and refinement become embedded in daily life. Integrate flexibility into the cycle. Progress is not linear, and circumstances will shift. Celebrate achievements in context while remaining adaptable in strategy. Flexibility prevents rigidity, reduces frustration, and enhances the ability to capitalize on unforeseen opportunities. Balancing recognition with adaptability ensures that progress continues even amid changing conditions. Anchor the practice in long-term vision. Celebrate progress not only for immediate gratification, but as evidence of alignment with broader purpose. Recognizing advancement in relation to ultimate goals strengthens clarity, reinforces commitment, and sustains motivation. This perspective transforms incremental success into meaningful steps along a deliberate path of personal mastery and fulfillment. Finally, embody the principle of continuous growth. Celebration, adjustment, and repetition form a perpetual loop that drives development across all dimensions: skills, mindset, habits, and resilience. Each cycle compounds, creating momentum that expands capacity, strengthens confidence, and reinforces alignment with values and aspirations. By embracing this iterative process as a core discipline, personal growth becomes self-sustaining, purposeful, and deeply empowering. Celebrating progress, adjusting and repeating transforms effort into mastery. The act of recognizing achievement energizes the mind and reinforces commitment, while reflection and strategic adjustment ensure that effort remains effective and aligned. Repetition embeds learning into habit, making improvement inevitable over time. Through this disciplined cycle, each day becomes a stepping stone, each achievement a foundation, and each adjustment a pathway towards sustained personal excellence. This process ensures that growth is continuous, measurable, and deeply rooted, allowing individuals to advance confidently, intentionally, and resiliently toward their highest potential.